to bed. 'Cause we all feel the same kind of pain. Celebrate when you fight off the shame. Feelings like the weather, but hold on to me, brother. Try this instead. I'm carrying peace and love that ain't very hard. Spread that peace and love that ain't very hard. Even without a name, we are two the same. Peace and love. And we must belong to something now. We must belong to something now. It's bigger than us. Something to trust, or at least hold on to. What can I hold on to? I'm carrying peace and love that ain't very hard. Spread that peace and love that ain't very hard. What can I hold on to? I'm carrying peace and love that ain't very hard. Spreading that peace and love that ain't very hard. Even without a name, we are two the same. Peace and love. I'm carrying peace and love that ain't very hard. Spreading that peace and love that ain't very hard. Even without a name, we are two the same. Peace and love. I'm carrying peace and love that ain't very hard. Spreading that peace and love that ain't very hard. Even without a name, we are two the same. Peace and love.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Better Man Show, where I document my journey as I become, or my journey to becoming a better person. So, hi, I'm BK. Obviously, if you're friends, it shouldn't surprise you. But if you're not friends, wherever I am popping up on the radar, because I'm live streaming to a few platforms, and this is, while not a tech show, I do a bit of technical things and I test out certain things so that I do the testing so you do not have to. And I am happy to say that we are in. I think I'm pushing the system a bit too hard. So it's a bit sluggish today. I'm not sure why. Yeah. So we are on day 53 of a 100-day challenge. And exactly 53 days ago, I started a 100-day live stream challenge. Don't ask me why. Friends have said that you are crazy. And when I first started it, I kind of agreed with them, especially on day one. Day two was harder. You know, it's always interesting when day two is actually harder than day one, right? Because day one, you kind of said, okay, let's do it. But day two, you're saying like, why did I do it? Right? So day two was a bit harder. But lo and behold, we're on day 53, right? This morning, a friend was asking me again, hey, so what day are you on now? So I get questions like this these few days, and it's fun, right? And I tell them 53, we'll say, wow, woohoo, you're halfway there, right? So yes, I'm actually more than halfway there. In fact, we are on the third day of our second half of the leg, right? So again, just a quick shout out. The reason why I got inspired to do this was because of this this other challenge that I found out about called 75 Hard by this person called Andy Frisella. He has a much more interesting challenge if you are keen. And it is actually a personal discipline challenge, which is exactly what this is about, right? But while it started off as a personal discipline challenge, it has also evolved over time for myself to have uh, as other objectives. So one of the objectives was, for example, now I would hope that at the end of the 100 days, I can become a much better communicator and a much better speaker and a much better storyteller, right? So today's show, we're going to talk about the second step of 4 steps to good communication. Yesterday, typo over there, number 2, okay? So yesterday was having something to say, right? Or having something good to say. That was step number 1. Step number 2 is learning how, when you have something to say, then the second step is to learn how to say it well. So this is what we're going to talk about tonight. And I also shared something that I have personally felt was interesting for myself because while as I'm going through this whole objective about wanting to become a better speaker or better communicator, and as I'm going through all this, listening to audibles, doing research, listening to notes, and so on, it has actually given me an impetus to something else, which is to be a good speaker. Actually, fundamentally, you need to have interest in life and people, interest in living life in as large a way as you can, right? Because those things, those experiences becomes your bedrock for sharing, right? So I would think that is something that, okay, at least for me, what happened was because I decided to do this, what happened was then it gave me an impetus to decide that, hey, I should really go out and live a good life or experience as much as I can, because then those experiences become part of what I can share when I actually have the opportunity to speak, for example. So that was a very unexpected change for myself, right? So even if I don't end up being a good speaker, or I don't end up being the as good as I hope to be, I think the other part of it would be beneficial as well, right? So it's interesting, and that was something that I felt yesterday, and I thought was something good that I kind oh yeah, if even if I don't end up being a good speaker, that other end result would have been quite good as well, having lived a good and interesting life, right? Because I want to be a good speaker, right? So let's get into it. Let's talk about how to learn to say it well. So again, I'm getting content from Jim Rohn, and this is actually from part of his message to how to lead and inspire people. But part of leading people and inspiring people is actually being a good communicator, because when you want to lead and inspire people, you do need to be able to communicate to them well, right? So that is why it is part of that particular program. So first step, repetition, right? Uh, Actually, there's no real easy, there's no other way to do it. To get good at something, you just have to repeat it. And I think I shared a couple of days ago, like some of my personal heroes are like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, right? And the reason why they are so good at what they do, at their craft, right, is precisely because they put in the hours to do a certain action repetitively, right? Free throws, for example, doing it repeatedly, right? Same thing for public speaking, in my business, I do have to do very regular presentations. Now, of course, uh, because I've done it so many times, it seems like it is pretty smooth, right? But that is obviously you following the slides and everything and so on. And of course, you often hear from people saying, yeah, you're doing a good delivery and so on, and or they are envious of the fact that you can actually do something like this, right? But the honest truth is, when I first tried to do that delivery, I practically listened to another version of the same presentation at least 50 times. 50 times, and I took notes and I took down what the person says, and I was actually trying to learn it, right? And then after that, you start to deliver it many, many, many times. Until today, I can probably say that I can do that particular presentation in my sleep, but that's because I've given it at least 1,000 times by now, you know. So there's no way around it, right? Repetition, doing the practice, the delivery, the speech that you are trying to do, or the communication you're trying to do, as often as you can, right? So if the question is asked of you, how long do you want to take to get good at what what you want to do? And if your answer is not very long or as fast as you can, then the short answer to you is do it often. Do it as often as you can, right? And but not just repetition, but repetition with the objective of getting better. So I mentioned as well that while I do this live stream every night, right? I do a live stream every night because it's a 100-day challenge. We are on day 53. After the live streams, I do review what I have talked about, and I kind of take down notes like, okay, the other day, a bit too much rambling. The other day, you're jumping all over the place. Your ideas are not connected. Your stories, you forgot you wanted to tell this story, but you didn't tell this story, the kind of thing, right? So you are doing repetition, but with the objective of getting better. That is the end goal, end game. So it's not just not just repeating for repeating sake. Especially if you know that you are doing not so great a job at something, and then you repeat the same mistakes the next day, that's obviously not the right thing to do. So you should be getting better day by day, even if it's just a little bit better, right? That is the whole objective. So repetition with the purpose to grow, right? To change and to expand, right? Today I had friends who came over to my apartment because they wanted to have a literally behind the scene peek at all these things, right? And both of them actually said the same thing, said that I feel very awkward listening to my own voice, right? I said, you just have to get used to it. You just have to get used to it. And so when you deliver, you do a live stream or whatever, and you kind of need to do a quick review so that you know at least what you have, where was good and where wasn't so great, and how you can improve, right? A good review is good, right? And they both said that they felt awkward listening to their own voice. It's always like that. When I first did it, it was like that. But nowadays, I don't. I just listen to it. In fact, today they were kind of surprised when they looked at the setup. So what you see in the screen is kind of like, the analogy that people talk about. We are like a duck. We are cool, calm on the surface, but we're paddling like mad under the water, right? So everything here looks nice and neat, but I was just telling them that I kind of gave up on cable management anymore because like behind this table, it's just a mess of cables. If anyone has tips on very good cable management, please let me know. I tried. I honestly tried. So yeah, so it was fun. They came over for an hour and a half. Showed them how to get started. What kind of microphones to get for the needs that they have, and help them make a better decision, right? So that is key number 1. Key number 2, sincerity, right? When we want to, one of the key rules or ideas for saying it well, once you have something to say, is sincerity, right? So saying it with the heart, saying it from the heart with noble intent, right? And I think that will get across better. And I think people can sense your sincerity when you are trying to deliver a message. You see, because we actually have the power to influence lives when we deliver a message well enough. So if we are sincere about it, the audience can feel it. Now, men, maybe not so much. Men, maybe you can get by with a little bit of not so sincere kind of thing. But women, definitely they can read insincerity from a mile away, right? So since your crowd was going to you're going to have both male and female, learn to be sincere. And that, I guess, is one of the challenges, right? So that's number 2. Third one, this is a challenge, a real challenge. Saying it well, part of it is to be brief. So brevity is actually one of the ways to say it well, and probably something that I want to work on. So good speakers are able to deliver their point in as brief a way as possible. Don't linger too long, Don't tell a story so long until you linger so much on the story until when you hit the punchline, you forgot how the story, or the audience has forgotten how the story started, right? So brevity is actually very important, okay? And because the human attention span is short. Now, it used to be short. Now it's shorter. The human attention span used to be short, right? Now it's shorter. Interestingly, there was a time before we had the internet and cell phones. And we had mostly something called the television set, right? When families gather around to listen or watch stories being told from the television set. And there was a time when there wasn't the television set. There was something called a radio set, where families might gather in front of a radio, and listen to just audio from a radio station, and perhaps there's a story being told. And there was also a time when there was no radio, and people gathered around campfires, and there was someone who was verbally telling a story about how he may have maybe just escaped from a man-eating tiger, right? And then giving them the tips on what you should do when you encounter something like that. So I'm guessing that the attention span of people back when they were gathered around campfires was, well, relatively longer, right? They were more patient and more able to wait for the punchline. And then the radio, and then the TV, and with every advancement in technology, our human attention span is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So we need to get to the point fast. And obviously, I'm not demonstrating brevity now, right? So the best way to practice brevity is actually to practice it on kids. So if you ever have a chance to deliver a talk to children, that's probably one of the best ways, because they will have no patience and they will not be embarrassed to show it to your face. Maybe an adult might start to lean towards the door, or maybe an adult might be looking at the watch and doing those kind of things. So you have to read the audience, right? But children will say, "Are we done yet? Aren't you? Are you? Is it over? They will probably tell it to your face." So the best way to do this is probably to practice on kids, right? So why then do we? So Jim Rohn suggests a possible reason why we kind of ramble on, or we do not get to the point, because we sometimes try to make up for what we lack in self-confidence with words. So the cure for being long-winded, or the solution to be brief, is actually to be confident. Because when you are confident of your message as well, and you are able to deliver the same message with probably much shorter content, and it still gets the message across. So to be brief, then we need to look at personal development, personal growth, and also understanding our self-worth. Because then when that happens, we can truly we can have economy of words. Okay, you can have economy of words. So that is key number 3. Next is style. Saying it well means you have to develop your style, right? And there are many parts to style. You have body language, gestures, facial expression, eyes, emotions, right? And it's not just the matter that we cover, it also matters the manner in which we cover the matter, right? So this is something that I probably need a bit of work on, right? This probably need to have a bit of work on. This is an interesting comment. So, but the thing is, you need to learn from good speakers, learn from how they become, uh, how they are on stage, right? Whether is it the style, the intonation, the expression, the way they carry themselves, punchlines. Do they have like how do they hit the punchlines and stuff like that? So we need to be a student of style, but don't just copy. Blend them into something that you are comfortable with, and then find something that is distinctly you. So just a quick shout out to this is a phrase I learned from live streaming pros, right? So they have their objective is to deliver or help us deliver live streams that are uniquely you, right? So the you is spelled with a Y-O-U, right? So that's one of the things that we need to do to blend things together so that we can become we have styles that complements us, right? So borrow bits and pieces, but just blend them together, right? So because there are many kinds of speakers. Some are over the top a little bit. Some are fire and brimstone. Some are more subtle and understated. Some are like so there are many kinds. So I kind of have to find. I will have to study more, and I'll let you know. And hopefully by the end of the 100 days, I can come to my own style, for example, right? So this is one of my army friends. He says I remind him of Ip Man and say rewatch my video on mute and I'll get the chance and I'll know what I mean. Okay, I will definitely do that. Thank you for that. Which is again true because videos, a lot of people are traveling on like the train station or in a bus, So many times when they are scrolling along on their mobile, chances are they're not gonna see. I know Facebook has tried to caption, and the caption is almost instant. Is it? I think it's quite almost instantaneous. So, well, maybe that would be there, but otherwise, live streams might not. They will not have sound, right? Yeah. Thanks, Kiwi. Next key idea: vocabulary. Improve and increase the vocabulary, right? So there was a story of a survey that was done in New England on the relationship between behavior and vocabulary, and it was actually quite interesting because they found that for the people who were in trouble, locked up in an institution, they found that typically the more limited the vocabulary, the more tendency to poor behavior. Now, why was this the case? Because if you think about it, vocabulary or the words that we have in our mind is actually the way our way of seeing, right? So I remember someone told me before that, for example, we just say something that we know snow as snow, right? But to the Eskimos, there are actually 7 different words for snow, meaning to say there are 7 different types of snow, and they have a word for each of them. So when we say snow, we cover everything from freshly fallen snow that is perhaps powdery to a little bit of snow that is already melted and is clumping together, or all kinds of things, right? So everything is snow. Everything is snow, right? But the Eskimos have 7 words, which means that their range and their depth of describing or understanding the world of snow is so much more than the rest of us, right? So imagine these people that they did the survey on, that they were in trouble, they were locked up somewhere. Because when you have less, your vocabulary is much more limited. Your way of seeing the world and understanding the world is way lower, right? And that can create problems for you in behavior. So, because vocabulary is what helps us to interpret the world as well as to express what we know or what we want to express to the world. So, imagine when you have a lack of vocabulary, that means that you are not able to understand the world, which may lead to frustration. And then when you're trying to express your your ideas or emotions or desires to people and people don't understand you, that also lead to again another level of frustration, right? So that can literally be a huge deterrent for you in getting the good life, right? So that is why vocabulary is important. And in fact, the most important book in your library should be a dictionary, right? I don't have a physical dictionary anymore. I do have a digital one on my actual digital dictionary, not just searching, actual digital dictionary. Um, I was doing part-time tuition before, quite a couple of years back, right? So, and one of my students didn't understand a word and asked me for an answer, right? And I brought the dictionary to her, and she was asking me, "What is this?" She was asking me, "What is this?" So was mind blowing for me that she didn't know what a dictionary was. Now, because what they did was, if they didn't understand something, there were apps on the phone that you can literally use your phone, a camera, and scan the word, and then it shows you the actual definition of the word, right? Now, there is a slight problem to this, and I would encourage anyone with young children today to still have them use a physical dictionary when they are checking for words. Why? Because when you use a mobile device to scan for the word, what happens is that the word is surfaced straight away. They read the definition and they learn about the word, and that's it, right? Which is, well, efficient. But when I recall my younger days when I was learning, whether is it English or when I was learning a third language like Japanese, for example, and I have a physical dictionary, when I flip the dictionary, I'm trying to find a particular word. More often than not, you notice that you have to go through several words before you actually find the one that you were actually looking for, correct? But what is interesting is that this act of finding for that particular word, on the way there, you also chance upon several other words. In fact, very often I find that I'm attracted to other words along the way before I reach the word I'm looking for, right? So when I try to find the meaning of one word, I find that I'm also learning a lot more other words along the way, right? Along the way. So that is, I think, the biggest merit of an actual physical dictionary, because you have to literally flip to find that word that you are looking for. So those of us with young children, I would suggest that, I would strongly recommend that, rather than just having an electronic dictionary where you type the word and then it surfaces for you and then you kind of jump straight to it. It's efficient, but perhaps not so fun, not as fun, right? So that is the dictionary. That actually kind of inspires me to go and buy a physical dictionary now. I do have all of them in digital form on my iPads and my iPhones, right? Last but not least, tonight, uh, learning how to say it well is, don't forget to say it, right? Practice every single chance you get to say it well, right? So that when the real important occasion arises, you would have had the gift of sharpness, style, substance, and emotion. So when the actual time comes for you to deliver it when it counts, you would have done it many times before that, right? So don't miss a chance to say it. Don't fail to say it, right? Actions are no substitute for words, right? Yeah, most of the time people say words are no substitutes for action. So you can't just talk, 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 talk and no action. But at the same time, you can't also just do and no action, right? So you kind of have to blend both of them together. Um, so for example, some of us may have bought flowers before, right? But did you know that on top of the flower, which obviously the person on the receiving end will like it very much, but please remember this very important point, that flowers have a limited vocabulary. Because when you give flowers, mostly the main message that the other party receives is that, oh, he remembered or he cares, right? That's all. But the more important part about the act of giving flowers is actually in the tiny little card that is often attached to a bouquet of flowers, right? So make use of that little card. Write down the things that you truly feel, the appreciation that you have for the person, the love that you have for the person, because flowers can't say those things, right? Flowers have limited vocabulary. So make full use of it, right? Write something on a card, express yourself. That is also part of practice. So that's the number 6 rule, which is don't forget to say it. So today is step number 2. There are 2 more steps to 4 steps to better communication. Thank you to Wendy. Wendy agreed about the fact that when you have limited vocabulary, I think she did because I think it popped up during that time, right? So it's unfortunate, right? But you see, something I learned today as well. When we look at an issue and we have discovered something about the issue, then we know how to go deeper into that, pull it apart and help to solve it, right? So if that is the case, then perhaps we should really, really make sure that young people or young children, as they are growing up, they do learn how to gather for themselves a whole wide range of vocabulary so that they have more confidence, better behavior, and a much more fruitful journey towards adulthood, right? If that's the case, because the wider they have in vocabulary, the better they are able at interpreting the world, right? So thank you very much for joining me on day 53. I am going to have an interesting weekend because we are going to go into a weekend of conferences, which is on the other side of the planet, which means that it's going to start tonight at midnight and it's going to go on till next morning. So, but I'm determined to still continue my daily challenges. But if I do look a bit sleepy for the next 3 nights, I apologize in advance, right? So thank you for joining me. Thank you for the comments, and feel free to leave a comment and let me know where you're watching this from, because I am testing this out to several other platforms at the same time, and hopefully probably before the end of this whole thing, I will kind of give a quick breakdown of what are the platforms and what are the live stream platforms, the tools, the toys, the tech gear that may be helpful for all of you. Right? I've done a quick review before behind the scenes, but I kind of just also want to do a little bit of that towards the end. Just like today, when my friends came over to have a quick understanding, they actually also said that because it was live and right in front of them, they were better able to appreciate everything as well, right? I wish I could bring everyone here for a tour, but I can only bring you on a virtual tour. So happy weekend. Today is a Friday. Happy weekend. I am looking forward to this weekend because of the interesting conference that is coming up. So good night for everyone and happy weekend, Saturday, Sunday, tomorrow. Bye-bye.